Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to a special episode of Naked Sunday. I am your host, Caleb Nelson, and today I am talking about the vision. Today's episode is titled The Vision, Spiritual Health Crisis, Generational Health, and World Inner Peace. I've been sitting on this one for a while, and I've been more or less spending the last year, dare I even say the past 3 years, reflecting on the direction of all of this and what is the purpose of all of this, my business, my life, the things I care about working towards, and what I hope to espouse with the people that come along this journey with me. And as with all journeys, with all missions, it's important to know what we're all doing this for. And that way there's something for us to get behind and to be a part of. And today, this is my opportunity to share my vision statement, the mission of this organization, and everything that I aim to do and look to be a part of, and what all the energies are going to be funneled towards, and where I think all this problem is starting. Where is this coming from? So let's start with the vision, a brief statement, and then we will move into the beginning. So we'll start with the end and come back to the beginning. So with that in store, the vision of all of this, when I sit alone at night, I envision world inner peace. And I'm going to define this as a space and a place and time where every individual on this world has a sense of inner understanding, an inner knowing, an inner connection, sense of truly knowing who they are, being confident in that identity, and then secondarily, being confident and having solid direction in their purpose. Because what I have found, when we are grounded in those two things, you don't feel like you need to fight anymore. You're at peace within yourself, and you start to see your role as supporting others in their own journeys to the same stillness. Because when you're good on you, you don't need to fight anymore. And I think that that's where we need to shift. Instead of chasing world peace, we want inner peace. And I'll share more of my thoughts on that later. So let's get into the problem of the current times. If that is the end goal, where internally we feel solid, when we are at peace within ourselves and we have alignment truly within ourselves, well, then we must be on the other end of that right now. Now I'll define our current problem. What I see when I look out in the world right now, I see our society, specifically more easily identified in the Western society, is that we are at a spiritual health crisis. What is this evidenced by? I see the climbing obesity epidemic, and I see the staggering climb of the suicide rate. Some more, I'll call it fringe things, is starting to see the divorce rate climb more and more. And we're seeing a greater gap in wealth more and more. And you'll see why I call that the fringe later on. Because all of these things, while most look at those as the problem, I see these as indicators. These are signs and symptoms of the problem. They are not the actual problem. And what I'm finding is that most people are trying to simply solve the surface level issue, and all you're doing is putting a band-aid. It's not actually causing the internal healing to unfold. So no matter what, we'll put one band-aid on one spot, but you didn't really stop the bleeding. You have another area that comes up, and you'll take your attention off that, and the problem persists. Because why does it keep coming back? I've had the great fortune of working on holistic health for my entire adult career, and I've been able to see some interesting things in my own spiritual journey for all of this. So, where do we call this spiritual health crisis? We're going to call spirituality. Some people get caught up in God and universe and spirit, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to call spirituality, for a layman's unified term, is a sense of knowing who you are and what your purpose is, a sense of self and direction that is aligned with the truth, with of who you are. What I currently see is the identity struggle. We are at, as a society, we have so much abundance at our fingertips. And I am talking about broad strokes. That's why I mentioned the staggering gap. There's a wavering middle class. The center of our society has been split into divides, and the middle is somewhat in chaos. We've never had more resources as a whole available to the world, more technology, more access potentially available. Yet why do these problems persist? If anybody looks at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the bottom 4 tiers of the standard version of it, the original version, is all about survival. Getting things like basic food and shelter, getting your basic acceptance needs, your financial needs, all those things, esteem, acceptance, love. All those things were running away from pain. But then we get to this point where we get to self-actualization. Self-actualization is all about becoming and realizing your true potential, becoming who you truly can be. And there's a shift in how you must think. It's going from survival, quote unquote, don't die, don't die, don't die, to fully living, a space of thriving. How do we go as a society from a space of perceived scarcity to global perceived abundance, where we can accept and grow and live fully and completely? At the center of all this is this crisis that I've mentioned. In an effort to play around with this, people continue to define themselves by their labels. Name your category: politically, economically, sexuality, all of it. Name your group that you want to be a part of, and you attach yourself to that. But the problem is, at any given moment, as the winds of time change, there's the next political cycle, there's the next economic shift, there's the next change in leadership from whatever group. Your sense of identity all of a sudden either throttles up and you get more extreme, or you abandon it altogether to start all over. And what people don't think about when they're thinking about being themselves, it is a lifestyle about being yourself, and it is rooted. You build your life around your identity. You build your life around your identity. And if you don't truly know who you are, and you don't know what your purpose is, you're left in a state of malaise, in a state of chaos, because you don't have a strong, obvious foundation to center yourself around and point you towards what you know is aligned. You see why people go chasing a variety of different outlets to numb themselves from that internal angst, that existential angst of like, who am I and why am I here? Some people go to food, alcohol, drugs. Some people can't bear it and they'll be weighed down by the information overload of anxiety and depression. Some people take their life quickly. And here we are, literally consuming ourselves to death. Eating too much, drinking too much, living a long, slow, painful death, or some people sadly take their precious life early. This is at the core, because everything you're building your life on, if it is not built on a solid foundation, eventually you are juggling a bunch of balls that you don't care about or don't align with where you want to go, not properly set up in a way that truly aligns with your energy and your purpose. It eventually comes crashing down. And you do that enough times, eventually you start to give up. And if you're also at odds with your internal self, it's like a parasite. You're at war with it. Your body's trying to fight it off. Your mind, your psyche is trying to fight it off. So you're at war with yourself. If we haven't noticed, when you're at war with yourself, you also tend to be at war with others. It is easy to play victim. It's easy to play savior. It's easy to play villain without even being aware, because we're lost in the fog of our own chaos, stress, anxiety, fear, pain, hurt, blame. It's all because we lack a sense of center. However you want to assign words to that is up to you, but to know who you are and where you are going. That's what we're looking for. And it is often the reason why we lean on bombastic figureheads, and people have the perception of being more confident than you and going wholesale with whatever their language or dogmas are, the all or nothing mind, as opposed to you being able to sit with your own thoughts and create question and context and curiosity and love and playfulness, and to be able to grow internally along with others and share a journey together, completely connected and knowing how to work together, not being strangers that are standing next to each other, people that can grow a life together. So that is the spiritual health crisis. What must we do to go from there to that place where everybody in the world has that inner peace? Here's the bridge. Generational health. The common thing in the world right now, especially in the Western culture, is I want to create generational wealth. We're thinking about all these resources and external things we're passing on to the next generation. And it's beautiful in its perception. I want my offspring and the next future generations to not have to worry about the same problems that I have. But how often do we see this problem of external abundance lead to a hollowness internally? The overprivileged losing their own sense of self, getting lost in drugs and alcohol, and also spending away that generational wealth very quickly. It's because we're missing something. We're missing that center. So where does this all start? How do we start discovering a true sense of health and inner well-being? Well, it's first knowing who you are. And I propose a different path to identity, as opposed to the labels that we're looking for, the category, the political party, the wealth status, which class status you're in, whether you're married or divorced or single or whatever, whatever, you're the boss or you're the employee. If we move beyond the labels, those external labels, let's talk about the internal definitions. How do you go about your life? It's a how. It's a who you are. How you live your life is who you are. And how you live your life authentically to you is how you live in alignment with your core values. What are your core values? And I believe when you define yourself by that, being who you are is simply showing up and behaving in alignment with that. Regardless of the shift in your titles, regardless of the shifts in your responsibilities, you can endeavor to show up with that intention in mind. And you take ownership of that, because at the end of the day, you are the owner of your own life. Nobody chooses how you behave. You choose that. And that is the final and most important observation of individual autonomy and sovereignty. And only you can choose to give that away. Once we understand that, it becomes pretty obvious. Look at your life and be honest. Are you living in alignment with that? How are you spending your time? That one resource that you cannot regenerate, so far as I know. How are you treating the vessel that is to carry out these actions? It's your time and your energy. That is your health. Those are the bank accounts that you need to take a look at. Because what we forget, yes, it's nice to hand off stuff and it's beautiful. And there's been a lot of great things that have happened because one generation worked hard so that the next one didn't have to suffer without. Perhaps this generation can start passing on something new, or perhaps it's coming back to what is old and imbuing the next generation with this new gift, with the resources, with the external stuff. How much farther could we get with both the internal and the external aligned? What if we can pass on both, not either or? And this is what leads me to where generational health goes. What example are you setting for the next generation? What lessons are you passing on about what it means to be a good person? How are you showing your children what it means to be in a loving marriage and a loving and beautiful relationship? What are you showing your children about being a good steward of resources, food, energy, time, money, what have you? What are you showing them in terms of what it means to respect yourself, to be aligning your own behaviors with what you say matters? Are you being congruent? Or are the words that are coming out of your mouth hollow because they lack the substance of the action to back it up? It's about becoming better role models, not just giving stuff. You can't buy love, it must be earned. And it's in the steady, consistent actions to show that you love and you care truly from a place of groundedness, from a place of wanting to love, not needing to, because you know that that's the right thing to do. And sometimes it's the hard thing to do. Sometimes it means telling people no and setting boundaries. Sometimes it means setting boundaries for yourself and telling yourself no. Because as we pursue this vision of world inner peace, and perhaps this is my biggest meditation of the past years, is this acceptance that I'm going to die. And I am under no false pretense that this type of endeavor will not be solved in a singular generation or two or three. It takes many. It takes many generations to impact an entire world. So we need to look beyond just our current population. We need to look at the one that's coming next and what do they need to build upon? And what do they need to build upon and then hand off to the next and the next and the next and the next. It's about us getting better. It's about us steadily getting healthier. And in my life, I've been given a great gift of seeing farther into the past and farther into the future because I have had family that's lived to their hundreds. How many more lessons could you give to your family? And how many more things can you come to terms and come to peace with and improve and heal if you had 5, 10, 15 more years of deep, beautiful living where you can share your lessons of your lifetime? How many more years of being a good role model how many more people could you impact with that? Professionally, my entire career has been around holistic health, preventative health. It's about laying a foundation early and often, because it's not about doing all the flashy things, these crash diets that everybody is jumping from left and right, only to fail a few months later, or sometimes even a year or two later, to overwhelm themselves because it's built on something they don't actually care about. They haven't centered around who they truly are. They haven't focused on mastery. It's not about a quick fix. It's about building a life. You must incorporate the physical, the mental, the emotional, and yes, the spiritual well-being. And that translates into all of your relationships. And then one layer further, it translates into your work. They are all the same. And the beautiful thing about that is that once you solve one, you progressively solve the other. But at the center of it is you, your physical, your mental, your emotional, and your spiritual well-being. And you will see the ripple effects out into the rest of your life when you have the courage to work on that and be truly honest. And here's the kicker. It comes with your individual responsibility. You cannot blame anybody else any longer for your failure to not take care of yourself. It is on you to set the standard. It is on you to look in the mirror and be real. To stop pointing the finger of blame and turn it into the thumb that goes right back towards yourself. And the more that we collectively start concerning ourselves with improving ourselves individually, being of sound mind, body, and spirit, we will all find that it's much easier to get along. You will find much less need and frantic desire to create unnecessary conflict and pain in your life that you didn't even realize you were doing. You will find greater ease and facility in your interactions with your loved ones and with your acquaintances and with what was previously seen as your enemies. You will realize that we are all one and that we are all going through this together, and you will find better ways to support each other. And go figure, in those acts of kindness and communication and true love, we will find more people are capable of healing now, in the next generation, and the generation after that. And hopefully, at some point in the future, way down the line, hopefully sooner rather than later, but I've accepted I don't know when that will be. And perhaps it's impossible, but that's okay, because the endeavor to improve is what matters. Perhaps one day we will find that. Perhaps one day we will all be able to see that we are not so different and that we truly are one and that we do share a true common core and a true common purpose. And that will be worthy of working on together. And that will emerge itself. It will show itself to be true, as opposed to us having to tell everybody what we think it is. We need to give it time and space to show us the way. And together we'll all know how to work together to find the way to serve that mission together. Because who knows, if we are ever to be an interplanetary species and venture off into the universe, and who knows what other beings we will encounter. What message will we be sending as humanity? What united vision will we share? Will it be one of peace and love and prosperity? I can only hope. So my challenge as I bring this to a close is to everybody who's listening. I first and foremost welcome you to join me on this, because all it takes is for you to start taking care of yourself. It doesn't necessitate you forcing your hand on anybody else to start doing something for them. It takes an honest moment. My humble request is that you take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you truly in alignment with your values? And if you don't know your values, sit with that. If you're feeling like you're always a little bit off, like something is not truly right, that's typically an indicator that it's time. It's time to reflect on that, come back to center, and then start to organize your life in a way that is congruent with what you say matters to you. Steadily, consistently, and enjoy the process. This is a slow, steady transition that is worthy of a long-term endeavor. This is not a sprint. This is an endurance race. And the race is as long as you can make it. So practice some mastery and show the next generation, show those you are leading, that you are responsible to, that you're upholding the standard for. Show them what it looks like to commit to a long-term endeavor. Because they're watching, and especially if they're kids, looking up to you as a role model. That's what they're going to see. And hopefully it will invoke and inspire inner peace within them, and a willingness and a desire to more eagerly pursue a sense of mastery and self-discovery and self-love. Because love is abundant and it's multiplicative. When you give love, you do not lose love. You only gain more. That's why it is abundant. That is my challenge to you. Look in the mirror with love and kindness and honesty. Start to make the changes that are in alignment with the person that you know is at the center of your heart, that is within your soul. It's all my time today. It's all I have for this message. I thank you for listening to this vision statement, this perhaps long overdue reflection on the journey that I'm going to be going on in my life. I hope to share with my family and whatever generations I bring into the world. So with that, I thank you for sharing your time and your energy with me. I look forward to the journey forward together, hopefully. And until next time, I remind you to love everybody.